So one of the things I struggle with is since we already talked about it, the connection that I have with Thomas Jefferson, because he is my relative. He's my ancestor. I'm part of this DNA pool to, being a sixth great grandson of Thomas Jefferson. But I'm conflicted sometimes because I hate the fact that he didn't do more for this country. He didn't do more for slavery, for black people. An abolitionist once wrote in the 1800s that Thomas Jefferson, and talking about him, he said, never before has a man received such fame for what he did not do. Because people give him credit. People give him credit for being, the man who wrote the words that all men are created equal while owning slaves and owning 600 of them and having them build his plantation and build his house and tear it down and build it up again. For people forget that without those slaves, he would not have had time to write those words, all men are created equal. Without those slaves, he would not have time to be the president. Without those slaves, he would not have had the time to do a lot of the things that we give him credit for. And so it's time that I am on this journey to give a voice to those who had no voice or were not given an opportunity to speak their mind and to be able to be heard because they were slaves at the time. And those were my family members as well. So while I want to give Jefferson credit for the great things he did for this country, I also want to make sure I give credit to all the people who made it possible for him to do those things. And so it's just it's a struggle between your head and your heart and the love that you have for your family, but at the same time I'm like, dude, you're a hypocrite. You're in many people's eyes a rapist because Sally Hemings was your property. A lot of people like to romanticize it and say it was a love relationship. Honestly, I was not there. I don't know what the relationship was, but I know she was property. And if he wanted his way, he could have his way any day, any time, and there was nothing she could have been able to do about it.
No, you're absolutely right about that, Shannon. Do you think the statues of Thomas Jefferson around the nation and the streets named after Thomas Jefferson, again, someone who is your direct descendant, need to be taken down or renamed? Would you go that far and say that?
That's the question of the day that I keep getting asked. And I think in order for us to have these monuments and statues up without any context, is a disservice to this country, is a disservice to history. We have to stop picking and choosing what part of history we're going to tell. If we're going to tell stories about these people, we need to tell the whole story. Say he was a slave owner. Say he was a hypocrite. Yes, and he also authored the Declaration of Independence and was president. We have to start telling the full story of these people and who they are and not just praising them for the good things that they do, because then that negates my family. Then that throws shade to the voices of all those slaves that he owned. So if they can't do that, I believe that any statue that is a demeaning statue to other people or represents a sentiment of slavery or belittlement of people should be taken down. And they should be put in places that are like museums and libraries where they can actually put some content in context to the statue and not just say it's a statue of a great man. Well, no, he was a conflicted man, and he was all these other things that had dark past. We need to recognize that, and we need to recognize what he did and tell the true story and not just glorify it and romanticize